Sunday morning shooting in Orlando is basically what we expect to see of terrorism and jihadist terrorism in the United States going forward. At Stratfor, we've been talking for several years about this de-evolution of the threat based upon professional terrorist operatives sent from core groups such as Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State towards more of a grassroots model, working under what we call the Leaderless Resistance model, whereas basically we have grassroots operatives who are radicalized and then operationalized remotely by these terrorist groups. Of course, the theory goes back many years with other sorts of terrorists, but the jihadists began really adopting it in the early 2000s. And of course, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula began promoting it heavily in 2009, 2010. The Islamic State kind of jumped on that bandwagon in 2014. And we've seen a pretty large number of attacks operating underneath this model within the United States in recent years, going back to 2009 with Little Rock, the Fort Hood shooting. After that, we've seen attacks in New York, Chattanooga, San Bernardino, now Orlando. What happened is for these groups, they were struggling to get operatives into the United States because of changes that were made in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. So because of this, they began adopting this new model. They're looking for people they can encourage to think globally and act locally, people that can conduct what they call simple attacks against soft targets. And that's really what we've seen here in Orlando. We saw a guy who was able to obtain a semi-automatic rifle and a handgun and walk into a club, which is a very soft target, and murder a lot of people. Unfortunately, that type of attack is very simple to pull off. It doesn't require a lot of training and planning. And as we see in this case with the death toll now sitting at 49, it can be extremely deadly, much more deadly than bombings. Because of that, and because of that deadliness and the ease, we've been saying for several years now, and we actually began forecasting it in 2010, that we were going to see a shift from bombings that really weren't effective and were being botched towards these armed assaults because of the ease that they can be conducted and because of the ability of these operatives to acquire weapons. So we really believe we're going to continue to see these types of attacks against soft targets. Obviously, the government's going to do what they can to find these people and hopefully arrest them. But quite frankly, counterterrorism resources are too limited to monitor every potential threat 24/7. And because of this, we really need citizens, what we call grassroots defenders, to help the government to spot these individuals as they're going through their planning cycle and to help thwart these types of attacks. So while some people kind of scoff at the idea of see something, say something, it really is true. And people need to be prepared to see something, say something when they see suspicious behavior. We're going to continue monitoring the aftermath of Orlando and, of course, talking about the leaderless resistance model and how people can prepare to defend themselves against this threat.